I guess it's possible that there is a district where rape and incest exceptions are not favored, but I haven't seen it. No one that I am aware of has seen that in the country.
Right.
And certainly our polling of Louisiana, that seems extremely unlikely.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if there was any district in the United States that, when polled, that the majority of constituents did not say that they were in favor of rape and incest.
Well, and if we found that district, we should encourage all of the women in that district to move the fuck out.
That's true.
Welcome to Seriously, the podcast that dives into the baffling.
We can't send them to a prison where there's animals, where there's livestock.
The ridiculous.
Like omelets better than sex.
And downright unbelievable political climate in red states like Louisiana.
So we can't go there. There's no vegan jail.
Seriously.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened this week at the legislature with the bill by Representative Landry to put basic privacy protections in place for the unregulated pregnancy centers.
Yeah.
The bill was going to be heard in the Senate Health and Welfare Committee, and Representative Landry had some other obligation. She wasn't going to be available to be there that week to introduce the bill in that committee herself. So she asked Senator Katrina Jackson Andrews to introduce it and had talked to her several times about it.
Which was super interesting, of course. I mean, Katrina Jackson is, generally speaking, not one of our allies. I mean, she does have good values on certain things that are very aligned with our values. So, there's always that. But I don't remember a time that we've found a way to work with her.
Are we trusted to work with her?
Yeah. And she did a great job. I want to just say that at the outset, because what happened, of course, went off the rails, but she did a great job.
Yeah. Representative Landry had talked to her about this. Senator Jackson Andrews is a big proponent of the pregnancy centers. She's the one who started the Pregnancy and Baby Care Initiative, got the $5 million in funding for it. She thinks they're great. And she was kind of herself horrified that there was a privacy breach, and that personal information of clients from a center here in Louisiana had been exposed.
Right.
And
just from a practical standpoint, reasonable people should be able to hold two things in their mind at the same time, right?
Yeah.
That I think that this is a good program, but it needs to also have real rules and accountability and parameters. Those things should not be hard to hold in your head at the same time.
That's right. And I had worked personally with the lawyer for the
Right to Life
in Xena. And she and I went back and forth, and we hashed out amendments. They were introduced by Chairwoman Cruz on the House floor. They were adopted. The bill made it out of the House unanimously.
Yeah. And to be clear, I mean, these were fairly extensive amendments.
Yeah.
That
we compromised a lot.
That's right. Yes. And that I didn't have a problem with. I think that they were fair. It was making the bill really a lot more similar to HIPAA in terms of having a lot of carve outs for things that you don't have to get specific authorization for disclosure. They were all agreed to. They got introduced, they got adopted, and bill passed unanimously.
That's right.
Good.
And also, to back up, Erica in committee on behalf of the Right to Life and the fucking pregnancy centers had said
They really weren't opposing.
They were not opposing the bill. They wanted some amendments then that they got in that committee. Then later they were like, oh shit, we want some more amendments. You worked with them. They got those amendments. So they on the record had said that they don't oppose the bill, and every amendment that they had wanted along the way was adopted.
That's right. But as we know, they're always moving the goalposts.
Yes.
So when the bill was introduced, Ben Clapper, the executive director of the Louisiana Right to Life and proprietor of ill-fitting suits, did not come to the committee, did not show up to oppose the bill. Erica has had a baby, so congratulations to her. But she was not there
She
because
was
she
literally
literally
having
had a baby
Yeah.
that week. It seemed like the bill was going to make it out of committee okay.
Although it seemed weird that Ben wasn't there. Turns out to me it's not strange because, of course, that he had been lobbying behind the scenes to get people, all his folks, to actually oppose the bill and try to kill it.
That's right. So the only person that came out to oppose the bill was a guy who introduced himself as Dr. Bill or Dr. William Hall, which I have done some searching, and the only two Dr. Bill / William Halls that I can find in Louisiana are one, a urologist in Shreveport, or a dentist. I think that we have some good sleuths that listen to this podcast regularly. So if you could try to hunt this Bill Hall down, I really want to know who the hell he is.
Yeah, we'd never seen him before, but like he came in real hot.
He did.
He came in hot with how the bill was like a nefarious attack on pregnancy centers, a lot of accusations about like bad faith and how, the pregnancy centers are very opposed to the bill. I mean, it was honestly kind of insane testimony, really. But made clear really what the part was that they have not been saying out loud, which is that of course they oppose this because of course they oppose any sort of accountability, they oppose any sort of oversight, they oppose any kind of rules, and just claim that like nothing is necessary because we say we're already doing a good job, and also that they continue to lie, claiming that there's already requirements for privacy, these sort of privacy protections.
This is about confidentiality, HIPAA confidentiality standards, which we already have HIPAA-like standards of confidentiality. Again, through the contracts that they have with DCFS, that's spelled out in there, by the professional standards of the nurses, the counselors, and therapists that serve there, and also from the training that we give to our volunteers.
After he finished his 3 minutes of testimony, then Senator Cloud, who's on the committee, piped in. And should we just listen to her thing so that we can react to it in real time? Okay.
Senator Cloud?
Yes. So I'm looking at this. I mean, reading the bill. I'm going to be very honest. Pregnancy care centers have been under fire and villainized and I've been noticing it more and more, and it's happening in a course here in this building.
It's unrelenting.
It is unreal, but it's expected. We should expect that kind of attack on the work that these pregnancy care centers. I'm just not surprising that they're looking for arguments and they're looking to kind of whittle away their authority and their relevance and even their funding. It should not surprise
Their
us.
reputations. I mean, this bill implies that there aren't high standards of confidentiality already there. And I got to tell you.
Wait, let me stop you right there. I need to understand that more because when I'm reading this, it seems logical that there should be protections, privacy protection. It seemed, well, of course they should maintain confidentiality. Everybody working, everybody volunteering, of course they should. But I have to stop here and I have to say, because I've been watching the attacks and I know where they're coming from and I know why they're coming, I have to stop and say, what is exactly behind all of this? Is there a motive? Is there an agenda behind all of this? But when I'm reading it, I'm thinking, well, it makes sense. But my spidey senses are up.
I just feel like
I know. I mean,
foo with so many of the regulations on abortion
100%. I mean, 100%. I mean, that's been an undercurrent with all of this of like, is there a secret motive? Is there a secret blah, blah? Which some of that, like, to me is always with this kind of thing where you're like, no, that's because that's what you guys do. Right. And so that's what you're assuming that we do. Exactly. But that's just what you guys do. But the other part was and this is again with the insanity with Dr. Hall, is there was all this talk about what the bill implies. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's like the equivalent of being like, if you pass a statute that says you're not allowed to molest children, then that implies that people are molesting children. I mean, maybe it implies that. What it mostly does is just says that like we've uncovered something we know that people shouldn't do. So we're just putting an affirmative thing in the law that says you're not allowed to do this. It's not implying anything. And also, that's not the point of a law. Like, a law is not a messaging tool to imply that something has already happened bad in the past. It's to say that there's a reason that there needs to be a law, so you can't do this in the future. That was very frustrating to me and just sort of nonsensical. In this context, then, like, there's a known gap already because we know that HIPAA doesn't apply in these contexts, and we know that these centers are getting the type of information that HIPAA would normally need to protect. There's no reason why just any forward-thinking lawmaker wouldn't be like, this is potentially a problem. We should have law on this.
So what requirements do they already have to maintain confidentiality and everyone associated with them?
Specifically in the contracts that each pregnancy center has with the DCFS to provide the services that it does provide on behalf of the DCFS, the standards of confidentiality are spelled out in those contracts.
That is incorrect. I've looked at all those contracts, and there are no provisions in any of those contracts that they maintain privacy protections for their clients / patients.
These contracts are general contracts. It's what the government uses for everything with contractors. The privacy and confidentiality stuff I think that they're talking about is like government trade secrets kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, of course, that he talks about is the professional obligations that doctors and nurses and whatever have, which that is not the same at all. First of all, some of these people are not licensed at all, as we already know. So they got absolutely no professional obligations.
Yeah, even if they
Zero professional obligations. Why would that not then be sufficient in any other context?
You're saying there's contractual protections already there.
Professional ethics of nurses, counselors, and therapists that serve at these centers
are under contractual confidentiality agreements with DCFS.
Correct. Well, the center is.
The center, okay.
And the point I'm trying to make it, the nurses have professional ethics of confidentiality. The therapists have professional ethics of confidentiality. The counselors have professional ethics of confidentiality, and they're bound not to break them.
Why would any medical clinic or any sort of, practice need to be required to comply with HIPAA if their own, nurses and doctors already have their own professional obligations? Like, it's just all either a lie or total obfuscation.
And I want every volunteer, every pregnancy care center to maintain that confidentiality, to operate with the utmost respect and care and consideration for what they're doing. But I am not going to sit here and be okay with the continued attacks on our pregnancy care centers for all those reasons. And just here, I'm going to object. I'm going to move to defer the bill.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely unbelievable. The bill is very, very narrow. It couldn't be more narrow about just, like very specific privacy protections for clients who go to these centers. It has nothing to do with anything else, like at all.
Another thing that he started talking about was that this was some sort of way of harassing the client. Let's listen to that clip because it's stupid.
We're not trying to hide with confidentiality. We're saying don't keep putting these regulations on us that are making it more and more difficult and seem to be just harassing us for the sake of harassing us because we're religious ministries. That's what I'm concerned about.
He said several times in his testimony, we're religious ministries.
Yes. The fact that they're religious ministries is not the reason for the proposal. Second of all, how that's related, like what you're engaging in here is the practice of medicine. And that's been well established at this point.
Yes.
Like well established by all experts in our state, right? So the fact that that's being done by people who are religious, that's true in all of our hospitals. Well, not all of them, but in
a lot of them.
Many of them in our state. All the Catholic hospitals in our state have to comply with HIPAA. Because like they're providing healthcare services. It doesn't matter that they're doing it as part of their religious ministry. I mean, it was very smart. I mean, it was all insane, but it was very smart with their own messaging. Just like obfuscating the issue.
Yeah.
It's making it seem like this is so broad and that it's a targeted attack
It's
on the
unnecessary.
funding, on their religious, viewpoint, on the work in general, like all of that. That like is just it's total obfuscation.
It totally works with these people. It totally works with that.
But totally works also when you're lobbying behind the scenes to get this in the works.
Yeah.
And when you haven't bothered to tell Katrina Jackson, even though you work with her all the time, Ben Clapper hasn't talked to Katrina to tell her that this is the line we're going to take on all of this, and we're going to totally oppose this. We're just not going to come to the table, but we're going to send some crazy people to the table, and we're going to get other people on the committee to say this kind of shit. I mean, it was an inside job. Like a secret inside job that is total fucking bullshit, because this is the most basic thing that they should be required to do. And we already know they don't want to be required to do anything, as he was very clear about. Any sort of regulation
It's harassment.
oversight, yes, accountability measures that any other person would have to do when they were receiving healthcare information, let alone receiving millions of dollars in state and federal funding.
Yeah.
So off the rails, insane, inside job.
What was so insane, though, also is that literally the bill before this was about homeless centers. They also collect a lot of very sensitive information from people about like their drug use, their HIV status, a lot of health information that people are giving when they go to receive services, where they're going to seek shelter for a night. And the state was trying to audit them and was asking for some of this information just so they could see who was being served and whether or not these programs are effective, and make recommendations on how they could improve.
This is like Rep Knox, what he is trying to do and what lawmakers are very receptive to in that space is exactly the same. And then we switch over to the pregnancy centers, and it's like all of a sudden they're saying just like drastically different things.
I know. It was wild.
I mean, the number of times that they say, like, we don't want any regulation, we don't want any oversight. And like, I mean, who says that?
Yeah.
Like, who says
I
that
know.
when they're receiving government money? I mean, nobody is really generally like, well, I mean, Trump. Yeah, exactly.
Essentially, the pregnancy center Jan 6 slush fund.
Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
it's like not dissimilar.
No, yeah. So the long and the short of it, of course, Cloud and Presley come forward with their like, I got some real issues with this bill. And then Katrina comes back. She did a great job of explaining and defending the bill, that it wasn't doing all these nefarious things. It was doing a narrow thing, and that the narrow thing it was doing was also necessary.
And isn't it true? I know it to be true. I want to make sure you know that there was a data breach of a pregnancy center. Was it not?
So I've heard
in
about
Louisiana.
I've heard about that, but you already have in place.
But
You already have in place the standards. The reason why
we're
there's a
friends,
breach
but
is
I'm
because
asking a
somebody
question.
looked at that they broke the confidentiality of the contract with DCFS.
Right. And
So
what
it
happened
worked.
in that
The
instance?
system worked.
When that was breached and they broke the confidentiality, what happened? Nothing. You know why? Because unless you are a nurse, a counselor, or you have a professional standard, it doesn't apply to you. And if you are a pregnancy center that doesn't receive DCFS funds, it doesn't apply to you either. The issue is this, and I did the bill. Some of my members opposed the bill to give them more money. So this is not an attack. When this bill was first introduced, I was adamantly opposed to it. But the truth is that the author and others worked with Representative Cruz in the House and accepted a plethora of amendments to the point where the House voted 98-0 for this bill. That's
Well,
the history.
I'm here
That's
to
the
tell you that
historic
the pregnancy
value.
care centers, the people that actually perform these ministries, strenuously object.
Yeah. It's like, do you know what happened to those people? Nothing.
That's right.
Because there's nothing that can be done. That's what we're trying to fix.
Yeah.
Can I just play one more clip from Bill
Yes.
Hobb? His last statement to Katrina was this.
So I had the honor of dealing with a lot of holy things, Senator, but I also have to deal with a lot of evil. And I see this as an opening for evil to happen against our pregnancy care center.
What in the absolute fuck is that?
I know. I mean, how much more hyperbolic could a person possibly be?
The thing about this clip that's so good for our viewers is that Katrina's head is kind of buried in her hand. She's just like, listen, I love Jesus just as much as the next person, maybe even more.
Setting that aside, I mean, like, what is he talking about? Like, again, the bill,
Venue for
the
evil.
the bill is about simply saying that because these pregnancy centers get people's private health information, they have to protect it. They have to protect the confidentiality of personally identifiable health information to the same extent as any other health center in the country. That is all the bill says.
Yeah.
The vehicle for evil, I don't know what, I mean,
The thing is, it's like he can say stuff like that because these people, I mean, they're so insane.
well, some of it again is their messaging strategy was just trying to like broaden it out and make it as hyperbolic as possible. But the truth really is that they think that any attempt to put any requirements on them whatsoever, regardless of how logical they are, regardless of whether they're ones to protect the people that those centers serve, and regardless of how similar they are to any other entity that would be doing the same type of work, then they think that that is a vehicle for evil.
So they took the vote and it ended up being tied. And in that situation, the chair can break the tie. And he just flippantly, literally without even saying anything, he just was like, I'm not going to break the tie.
That is Senator McMath. I have said for a long time that I'm always told he's a reasonable person, and I have never seen it. And here we have the actual evidence as clear as day. I mean, like, the pussy ass shit with not breaking that tie. It was a straight party line vote.
It was
to be
ridiculous.
clear.
Yeah.
But I mean, the McMath not breaking the tie is like, I mean, I was like rip shit furious. I mean, first of all, I mean, he obviously should have broken the tie in favor of moving the bill. Like, again, it's just moving it to the Senate. I mean, I would have had more respect for him if he'd voted against it. Like, just the pussy ass shit with doing nothing.
Yeah.
It was insane. I was so fucking pissed. So pissed.
Indeed.
Just, yeah.
So-
you cannot work with these people. You
No,
cannot
you
trust
cannot
these
trust them.
people.
And we do still try. We do try. We don't ever trust that it's going to work, but we do try because we are operating in good faith because we are not fucking lying, deceitful,
That's right.
fucking assholes hiding behind our Christianity to be literally the worst fucking people in the world.
Also, I mean, you know me, I'm a lawyer. You're always working with people like on the other side, what's in litigation and within this context. So like you don't quote trust them. But I do in general, because usually lawyer to lawyer, this is true, then you do take people basically at their word. So I was very surprised that the Right to Life opposed this bill. And of course, they didn't do it outright. They did it behind the scenes. That is different to me. Like I mean, I don't respect that. I assume that I can trust when like I've worked with somebody, we've gotten to point A, we both compromise. Neither of us think this is ideal, but we're both okay with it. And so then that's what's going to happen. So this kind of shit is to me, it's bullshit.
All right. I want to give Katrina Jackson Andrews more flowers. This probably will be the last episode that we ever do this.
It was a really good day for Katrina.
She did
in our books. Yeah. I mean, watching her in that hearing, I was like, man, she could be a different person.
She could be. And I do think that I do think that the redistricting fight is having a spillover effect in which the Black Democrats in the state have fucking had it.
Yeah.
They have fucking had it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So they're not as interested in going along to get along with these white Republicans anymore.
The other thing that Katrina's been consistent about this session, what are we doing about like the current situation that, that there's all kinds of teenagers getting pregnant and there's STI rates that are going through the roof.
That's right. And Katrina's district it's interesting. Her district butts up against Jay Morris's district. So part of it is Monroe, but it's also this other part of Northeast Louisiana, very rural, very, very, very poor. The people that she represents are struggling. And this is also an area of the state of Louisiana and just the South in general, in which STI rates have skyrocketed over the years.
There's very little access to information.
Right.
I mean, there's not broadband. Yet we're still trying to expand broadband into this to these parts of the South. And also, there's nothing to do, so we're just having sex.
Listen,
I mean, that was a joke
there.
when we were young. I grew up in a town in the South, but that was always the joke. Like when you get too far outside, like there's nothing to do.
There is nothing to do except
You drink in the Walmart parking lot and have sex in the back of the truck.
Well,
That's
on
it.
Monroe, it's the woods. You go to the woods, but you know,
That's it. Drinking and having sex. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So not a big surprise then that there's some fallout from everybody drinking and having sex all the time real young.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this bill 775, this is the bill requiring parental consent for a lot of medical care and mental health care. The bill has been amended along the way, kind of in ways that actually provide more opportunity for young people in certain circumstances to consent for healthcare than they would have otherwise. It still is very, very, very problematic for a lot of other healthcare services, including vaccines, for transgender folks getting health care, for mental health care in particular, except for in situations of abuse or neglect. It's not a bill that we would want to support necessarily, but we appreciate some of the changes that have been made to it.
Well, Genevieve, I mean, again, to her credit, she has been willing to work with a lot of folks and make a lot of what she would consider concessions.
Yeah.
That's encouraging that people are willing to work with other people and try to make something feasible.
That's right. So the bill comes to committee. Senator Katrina Jackson Andrews decides that she wants to add an additional amendment on that would allow young people to consent without their parents to contraception and to STI testing and treatment. And that amendment got on the bill without opposition, even though I know that Representative Chenevier does not support it.
She did not look happy about it. Again, she wants to get this bill passed, so she wasn't going to really, oppose it. And honestly, I don't know if she cares at this point, like what the fucking bill says, as long as she gets it passed.
I think that's
honestly,
probably true. Honestly, if I were her, I almost would be in that same situation.
I agree with that.
I've definitely been. I feel like I've been there on other bills where I'm just like, I don't
we need
care
to get
at this point.
done. We need to get this done. Yeah, and like, there's been already so many concessions that are similar to this. So like, whatever. Like, let's just carve out another one. Also, like, Katrina was smart enough too that like, is then. I don't know if McMath was being strategic or just trying to rush things along. She said, I want to offer this in concept. McMath was like, yeah. Or we can just work on it from here to the floor. And she said, Katrina was like, no, I want it to be added here. This is what the amendment is in concept. I'll work with staff to get it drafted. I want it added here. And there was no opposition. That is so fucking smart because the between here and the floor is the biggest goddamn bullshit that has ever happened.
The last bill that I want to talk about that happened this week actually happened on Tuesday. So this is House Bill 261. This is Representative Delisha Boyd's bill. She really wants to come back on the podcast again. She's got some shit to say this session. We're probably going to do a series over the next several weeks of having guests on to just recap a lot of stuff that happened during the session, because there's a lot of people that have a lot to say.
I bet.
And that are more steeped in some of these issues than we are, and also are funny. And we like them. So Rep. Boyd wants to come back on. Her bill is the exceptions bill that would allow survivors of sexual assault to be able to get an abortion if their pregnancy resulted from that sexual crime. So this was the fourth year in a row. And for the fourth year in a row, the members of the House Criminal Justice Committee rejected that legislation.
Right. Maintaining the fact that our abortion ban has no rape and incest exception.
We have something on our social media, so you should go to our Instagram that shows you literally the pictures and the names of all of the legislators that voted against the bill. And we're going to do that every single fucking year because they need to be ashamed of themselves for this. It will actually include some Audrey Wascom's testimony this year. She was the only one that came up to testify in support of the bill this year. She's been working with survivors for like 30 years. I mean, she's a huge advocate for them.
Well, and I mean, she has a dramatic personal story of her own, so it's very personal.
Good morning. My name is Audrey Wascom. I'm a resident of Baton Rouge. I'm a survivor of childhood sex trafficking, CSAM, and rape. For almost 30 years, I've been an advocate in the field of violence against women, and I am the namesake of the Audrey Wascom Act. I'm pretty sure y'all are sick of hearing me talk about this, and quite frankly, I'm pretty sick of it too. But after the events in 2023, when this was first heard, I made a vow to the survivors of our state that I would show up after the faux life people in this audience who cosplay as Christians violently ran them out. They should congratulate themselves on making it so unsafe that the women who initially showed up in 2023 have not felt safe to return because they're terrified to publicly say that they've been assaulted. Years back, I had 2 unrelated cases of pregnant 9-year-olds within a month of each other. 2 9-year-olds who were raped when they were 8 and became pregnant. One was 5 months along, the other had a dead fetus. I had to tell the grandmother of one little girl that the fetus had died, but that we needed the fetal remains for DNA testing to prosecute, and the doctor was refusing to do the right thing. Do you understand what it takes to tell 2 different grandmothers that the grandchild that they're caring for is pregnant, that they had been raped? Do you know what it takes to hold a newborn baby of the other 9-year-old like I did? While one grandmother, now a great-grandmother, looked on as the DNA swab was done. The night the little girl with the dead fetus presented in the hospital in a dark room, I begged God for help. The clearest voice I've ever heard told me to call the abortion clinic. Do you know what it takes to listen to God when everything else that you've been taught is telling you that it is wrong? What I know for sure is that the abortion doctor and his nurse were angels sent by God to help that little girl. I know that I can't call myself a Christian if I turn away the help that I've asked God for. I used to think that the people in this building didn't know how horrific of a sentence you are handing to these little girls. But now I know better. The people in this building do know better. And the hypocrisy is astounding. What message are we sending little girls when we tell them to ask for help from adults, but then turn away when they do? Thank you.
Yeah. This year, it was interesting. Rep Moore obviously talked about her own story a little bit again, and she also went on this whole thing about how this is my personal story, but I just have to vote with what my constituents want. So we're going to poll Pat Moore's district.
I was going to say, I bet that.
I mean, maybe the people that are contacting her, but we're going to poll. I think we're going to poll that entire fucking committee and see where
I think that's smart because again, I guess it's possible that there is a district where rape and incest exceptions are not favored, but I haven't seen it. No one that I am aware of has seen that in the country.
Right.
And certainly our polling of Louisiana, that seems extremely unlikely. I would be very surprised if there was any district in the United States that when polled, that the majority of constituents did not say that they were in favor of rape and incest.
Well, and if we found that district, we should encourage all of the women in that district to move the fuck out.
That's true.
I will just say this. The talking point from the antis on it doesn't matter how, you were conceived.
Yeah.
This year, Representative Boyer, who wasn't on the committee last year, told his story about also being conceived by sexual violence. And their response to that being, and I'm so glad that I'm here.
Right.
And I'm glad that they're here too, to be honest with you. Like, good for them.
Sure.
But Representative Pat Moore, the way that she tells the story is that her mother could not look at her,
I know.
could not touch her, never loved her.
I know.
And from that experience, she thinks that we should then force children to be born into that same unloving, traumatic environment
It's
because just maybe they might find Jesus and become a fucking state representative
I
someday.
know.
Like, what in the fuck are they talking about, Ellie?
I know.
What are they talking about?
It's just, I mean, to me, it's just where, you know, you can't literally separate yourself out from the words you're saying.
Which is
you
why
know,
you
like-
should not. If you can't do that, then you should not. Literally, your job is to represent
That's
other
true.
people.
It's true.
If you cannot separate yourself, your own personal feelings, in order to represent the majority of people who disagree with you, then you should not have that job.
Well, or she should recuse herself from those votes.
Right.
That's probably what that is then, right? I mean, the whole narrative of it like supports the opposite position,
Right.
But of course, it's yourself. Like you yourself would not exist. I think that Representative Boyd shows like a lot of emotional maturity that I respect a lot. People are not that emotionally mature. Her ability to separate herself to be like, I personally would not be here if this had been the policy, or maybe not. As she said, she doesn't know what her mother would have done, but her mother should have had the choice. But the ability to like have the self-awareness to look at the situation and be like, my mom was fucking suffering. I get it that it's hard to be like, maybe my mom would have had an abortion and I wouldn't exist. If the law had allowed that, maybe that's what would have happened and I wouldn't exist. Like that's literally existential, right? So it's hard to take yourself out of the policy.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm going to get philosophical on this for just a second because to me it's really important.
I agree.
If I grew up in a situation in which I knew that is how I had been conceived, and I saw, not only was I neglected because my mother couldn't connect with me, but I saw my mother suffering so much, then I still honestly think that I would feel the same way.
I agree with you. I believe that I have that emotional maturity. Like, I'm not giving the Pat Moores and the Boyers of the world a free pass on this. I'm just being realistic that I think it's hard for people to do that. I think it's hard to separate out the child from the parent. Like Pat Moore, I mean, she should recuse herself. She's clearly too close to the situation.
Yeah.
It's not just about our family anyway. This is about like, just broadly speaking. Like
Because she's a representative.
yes, exactly.
Representing people.
Your experience should inform what you do, but like, it's all, this is a huge policy that affects everybody. Like,
I hate these people. I really do. But
well, we're always at that point by this point in the session.
I know.
Wrap it up.
Representative Boyd ended the committee hearing with the vote, which of course was to not let this bill out of committee. And she just said, "Thank you very much for your time. I'll be back next year."
I love it. I love it.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got goosebumps and like got a little verklempt. I got a little verklempt. I think that's going to do it for this week. We have covered a lot. Next week is the last official week of the legislative session.
Yes, we're basically done.
So we will be back next week to tell you how it all kind of wrapped up, if it wraps up.
Right. They may be extending the session for a couple
God.
days or some shit. I know.
Worst nightmare. But only to do fucked up shit.
Yes,
Only.
always.
All right. Well, what are the people supposed to do?
You're supposed to be subscribing, as we know, and for rating and reviewing. Yes.
Subscribing. If there is somebody that we have talked about during this legislative session that you would like to hear from, other than people that are opposed to us, Let us know in the comments and we will try to get them on. We would like to have more guests on so that Ellie has somebody else to interrupt.
Yes. This gets boring just interrupting Michelle the whole time.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Seriously is presented by Lift Louisiana, a nonprofit organization advocating for reproductive health rights and justice.